You cling, and life slips away, the art of letting go. There's a strange phenomenon that happens when you finally learn how to let go. Not in a careless, giving up kind of way, but in the quiet, soul-freeing way that unhooks you from the invisible chains of pressure, fear, and the need for constant control. Because here's a wild truth. Most of the pain in your life isn't caused by what's happening, it's caused by how tightly you're holding on. You only lose what you cling to. Think about that. The job, the relationship, the identity you're trying so hard to protect are draining you because you've made them a part of your survival. But what if letting go isn't weakness, but wisdom? What if that's when everything finally falls into place? If you've ever felt like you're doing everything right but still feel stuck, anxious, or invisible, then this is for you. Stick around, because a powerful lesson awaits. And it might just shatter everything you thought you knew. Lesson 1. Let go of control. Have you ever considered that your relentless effort to control everything might be exactly what's making life so hard? We spend our days mentally clenching, gripping outcomes, people, and plans, hoping that if we just hold on tight enough, life won't fall apart. But here's the paradox: the tighter you hold sand in your hand, the faster it slips through your fingers. Control feels safe and predictable, but in reality, it's the ego's most convincing illusion. Let go or be dragged. This isn't just a quote, it's a survival instruction. Because the truth is, control doesn't give you freedom, it gives you fear. Fear of failure, fear of loss, and fear of not being enough unless everything goes exactly as planned. In Buddhism, there's a principle called non-attachment. It doesn't mean apathy. It means allowing life to move without chaining it to your expectations. You don't own this moment, you're only here to experience it. And the more you try to force it, the more it resists you. Think about your own life. How much energy have you wasted on overthinking, micromanaging, clinging to relationships already drifting, or worrying about what hasn't even happened yet? All of that didn't bring you peace, it brought you pressure. Now, imagine this. For one day, you stop interfering. Instead of micromanaging a perfect day, you breathe, you observe, and you respond, not react. You respond with calm, not control. Ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I let go right now? Most of the time, the answer isn't danger, it's discomfort, and discomfort is the doorway to growth. The job you didn't get? Maybe it wasn't meant for your path. The relationship that ended? Maybe it was a chapter, not the whole story. Life is always trying to guide you, but we're too busy resisting to hear it. When you let go, things don't fall apart, they fall into place. Not always the place you imagined, but often the place you needed. Because surrender isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the strength to trust the flow rather than fight the current. The next time you feel yourself mentally tightening, stop, breathe, ask, is this worth the weight I'm carrying? Then, loosen your grip, allow, trust. Watch what unfolds when you stop trying to manage every second. Lesson 2. Let go of obsession with outcomes. What happens when you stop obsessing over outcomes? There's a paradox here. The moment you stop needing something, you begin to attract it. This is the truth. The more you try to hold on to something, the faster it slips through your fingers. Like a kite, it doesn't rise by force, it rises when it's released. Letting go of your obsession with outcomes gives you power in a different way. In Buddhist thought, attachment is the root of suffering. Not because wanting something is wrong, but because needing it to define you is. Detachment, then, is not apathy, it's freedom. It's acting from clarity, not desperation, from truth, not fear. Think about your own path. Maybe you've poured everything into a career, a relationship, or a dream, and the more you tried to force it, the more it slipped away. You stayed up late, obsessing over outcomes. You replayed conversations and reworked plans. But instead of peace, you felt pressure. Instead of clarity, you felt confusion. Why? Because your power doesn't come from the grip, it comes from your presence. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You shift your focus from, will this work? To, is this true for me? That one question changes everything. Because now you're no longer reacting out of fear. You're responding from inner alignment. Practice this. Set your intentions clearly, but release the outcome. Speak with honesty, not manipulation. Show up to your work, your relationships, and your dreams, not with expectation, but with sincerity. And then, step back. Trust that what's meant for you will unfold in its own time. Meditate on impermanence. Watch your thoughts and emotions rise and fall like waves. Nothing stays, not even pain. The moment you realize this, you start living lighter. You begin to move with life, not against it. Ask yourself, am I pushing too hard for something that should unfold naturally? Often, what we force fails. What we allow grows. Surrendering is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the understanding that control is an illusion, but presence is power. Lesson 3. Stop overthinking. You think you're being productive, but really you're just stuck in your head. Overthinking disguises itself as problem solving. It promises clarity but delivers chaos. Like stirring muddy water, the more you spin your thoughts, the cloudier everything becomes. A pond clears itself when you stop disturbing it, and so does your mind. In Buddhism, the monkey mind is the name given to our restless, jumping thoughts. It's always grabbing, always fearing, always doubting. The mind seeks control through thought. But true clarity doesn't arise from more noise. It arises when the noise fades. Have you ever noticed that answers often come not while you're thinking, but when you finally stopped, in the shower, on a walk, during a quiet moment of surrender? That's because you created space. And that space allowed wisdom to rise. We all crave peace, but we try to think our way to it. And that's the trap. Peace isn't something you chase, it's what's left when you stop chasing. Practice this. The next time your thoughts spiral, don't dive deeper. Interrupt the pattern. Close your eyes. Inhale peace. Exhale the story. One breath, fully taken, can do more than 100 thoughts. Ask yourself, am I thinking? Or am I avoiding? There's a difference. Sometimes thinking becomes a shield from feeling, from making a decision, from facing the unknown. But life moves when you move, not when you overanalyze every turn. Set boundaries with your thoughts. If you're stuck on a decision, give yourself a deadline. Don't let it bleed into paralysis. Clarity loves decisiveness. Even a small action disrupts the mental loop. Trust simplicity. That quiet gut feeling you keep brushing aside isn't weakness, it's wisdom. But you can't hear it while overthinking shouts over it. Lesson 4. Why caring too much backfires. Sometimes, we care so much we crush the very thing we're trying to protect. We smother dreams with perfectionism, relationships with expectations, and our own peace with pressure. This deep caring feels noble, but often it's fear in disguise. The fear of losing control, the fear of not being enough, the fear of not being loved unless we constantly prove our worth. But just like a flame, love and purpose grow only when they have air. Caring deeply doesn't mean clinging desperately. You've probably felt it. The heavy weight of holding everything together for everyone all the time. You say, yes, when you're exhausted. You try to manage others' emotions. You take responsibility for problems that were never yours to fix. It feels like compassion, but it's actually over-responsibility. And that doesn't lead to connection, it leads to burnout. In Buddhism, loving kindness isn't about control, it's about presence. It's being with someone, or even yourself, without fixing, forcing, or managing. It's letting people breathe and letting life breathe. When you truly care, you create space, and in that space, growth happens. Ask yourself, am I trying to be everything for everyone? It's not your job to be the healer, the pleaser, or the perfect one. That's ego dressed as service. Real compassion begins when you allow people to live their own journeys. Even when it's messy, even when it's not how you would choose. Let go of the need to be understood all the time. Let go of trying to control how someone sees you. When your worth is tied to external validation, your care becomes conditional, subtle, but heavy. And that's not love, that's fear pretending to be love. Lesson 5. What happens when you stop seeking validation? You were not born to be approved, you were born to be authentic. But somewhere along the way, applause became oxygen. The likes, the praise, the nods of approval, they started to feel like proof that you're enough. And slowly, without realizing it, your peace became tied to someone else's opinion. But here's the truth. A mountain doesn't need approval to stand tall. It just stands, unmoved, unshaken, whole. The constant chase for validation is silent but exhausting. You might dress it up as ambition, but if your self-worth crumbles when someone disapproves, that's not drive, that's dependence. And it's keeping you from your full power. Because when you live for applause, you become a performer in your own life. You're always asking, was that good enough? Do they like me? But validation is a moving target. It changes with trends, with moods, with people's projections. How can you build a stable life on such shaky ground? Buddhism teaches us that freedom comes not from being liked but from being real. When you release the craving for approval, something sacred happens. You begin to hear your own voice again. You start living in alignment, not performance. You do things not for recognition, but because they're true for you. Ask yourself, who am I when no one's watching? If no one clapped, if no one noticed, would you still do what you love? Would you still speak your truth? Would you still show up? You are enough without applause. You are valid even in silence. And that's the shift. When you stop outsourcing your worth, you stop living in fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of being invisible. And in that fearless space, creativity flows, courage rises, and purpose returns. Lesson 6. The whatever mindset. You don't need to control everything to be at peace. In fact, the more you try to manage, fix, and force life into your own image of how it should be, the more chaotic your inner world becomes. But there's a mindset, quiet, powerful, and deeply liberating, that shifts the entire game. It's the whatever mindset. Not from apathy, but from a place of grounded wisdom. Whatever happens, happens. I remain. That's not giving up. That's anchoring yourself in something deeper than outcomes. Life is unpredictable by nature. Plans fall apart. People change. Dreams evolve. The mind wants to panic and scramble for control. But what if peace wasn't about everything going your way, but about your ability to stay unmoved when it doesn't? Like the wind flowing around a mountain. Not fighting it. The mountain doesn't flinch. It just remains. This mindset, this whatever consciousness, is not indifference, it's spiritual confidence. It's knowing that you can handle life as it is, not just when it's convenient. It's being rooted in your truth, even when the ground feels like it's shifting. And in that grounded space, you begin to see clearly. You stop overreacting. You stop making everything so personal. You start choosing your peace over your pride. Lesson 7. You are not your thoughts. Most people spend their entire lives trapped in a prison with invisible walls. That prison is their own thoughts. We believe every voice in our head is true, every worry, every judgment, every fear. But here's the truth. Most never realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that sees them come and go. Just like clouds drifting across an open sky. The sky is never disturbed by the storm. It holds space for it, and then it clears. Observe the mind, don't obey it. This one shift can change your entire relationship with yourself. There was a time in your life when a single thought could ruin your whole day. One negative comment, one fearful story, and your whole being would spiral. But what if those thoughts were just habits, not truth? What if they were echoes of old conditioning, not present reality? Thoughts arise automatically. That's not your fault. But identifying with them, that's where suffering begins. You are not the voice that says, I'm not good enough. You are the one hearing that voice. And when you stop attaching to it, something incredible happens. Freedom. Try watching your thoughts like weather. The next time your mind races, don't fight it. Just notice, like a bird watching the clouds. Say silently, this is just thinking. Then return to your breath, to this moment, to your body. You'll begin to see how much noise your mind creates just to feel safe. But awareness doesn't need to feel safe. It just is, quiet, still, whole. Lesson 8. Surrender is a superpower. There comes a moment when your strength isn't measured by how tightly you hold on, but by how softly you let go. That's the moment when everything shifts. Because what if surrender isn't weakness? What if it's your greatest superpower? Imagine a boat struggling to row against a fierce current. No matter how hard it pushes, it stays stuck or, worse, gets dragged under. But the moment it stops fighting, the river carries it. That's what surrender does. Surrender is not giving up, it's giving in to what already is. Most of us live in resistance. We push against outcomes, cling to plans, and wrestle with the unknown. We call it ambition, but deep down, we're just afraid. Afraid of losing control, afraid of being seen as weak. But here's the truth. Control is an illusion, and resistance is exhausting. Surrender doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop suffering over what's not in your hands. You take action from clarity, not chaos. You move with life, not against it. Ask yourself right now, where am I forcing something that no longer flows? Maybe it's a relationship, a job, or a dream that has changed form. Are you rowing in circles out of fear of drifting? Or are you ready to trust the current? The most powerful moments in your life likely didn't come from planning. They came when you least expected. When you surrendered. When you said, "I can't force this anymore." And suddenly, the right person appeared, the decision became clear, and the path unfolded. That's not coincidence. That's clarity being allowed to rise from stillness. When the mind stops struggling, life begins to speak. In Buddhism, surrender is not a passive act, it's active trust. Trust in the impermanence of things. Trust in the wisdom of now. Trust that life is not something to conquer but to align with. Lesson 9. Embrace groundlessness. There's a quiet fear many never name, the fear of groundlessness. That in-between space where nothing feels solid, where identities dissolve and plans fall apart. And yet that space is exactly where transformation begins. Like a tree surrendering its leaves in autumn. Growth demands we let go before we bloom. But we cling. We grip what we know, titles, routines, relationships, and definitions of who we're supposed to be. Not because they're true, but because they feel familiar. Certainty becomes a comfort zone. But truth lives in uncertainty. There's a reason so many feel stuck right now. It's not because they're doing the wrong thing. It's because they're trying to control what cannot be controlled. They're waiting for life to become predictable before they move forward. But the deeper wisdom is this. Groundlessness is not the problem, it's the portal. The cocoon doesn't promise a butterfly, it just asks the caterpillar to dissolve. In the same way, your next evolution doesn't need your certainty. It needs your surrender. Can you trust yourself even when the ground shifts beneath you? Sometimes falling apart is falling into place. But only if you stop resisting. Sit with the unknown, let it be uncomfortable, let it stretch you, break you open, and strip away what was never truly yours. Don't rush to fill the silence with answers. Let it speak. We've been taught to fear not knowing. But in Buddhist practice, groundlessness is sacred. It's the space where the ego dies and truth emerges. It's where attachments loosen and the self remembers its depth. Lesson 10. Let the moment lead. Imagine a river flowing effortlessly, never questioning its path, never struggling against the bends or obstacles in its way. It simply moves, responding to the landscape, adapting to every turn. This is the essence of letting the moment lead. The ultimate act of surrender that doesn't mean giving up but means becoming a student of life itself. When you cling to control, you pull yourself out of the only place where peace and purpose truly exist, the present moment. You get stuck managing the moment instead of living it. But what if you stopped scripting your every step and instead asked, what is life asking of me right now? What if instead of rushing ahead or retreating in fear, you paused and let the moment be your guide? There's power in interrupting autopilot. The mind loves to replay the past or forecast the future. But it rarely lives fully here. When you catch yourself pushing through life as if it's a series of problems to fix. Stop, breathe, ask yourself, what is life asking of me? This question shifts your attention from control toward curiosity. It opens space for unexpected answers, fresh perspectives, and new paths you hadn't considered. You might be facing delays or detours that feel frustrating or unfair. But what if those delays are divine? What if the moments you want to fast forward through hold the very lessons or healing you need? When you surrender to life's timing, not your timing, you align with a deeper intelligence. Instead of fighting the current, you float with it, trusting that every moment carries wisdom if you're willing to listen. Lesson 11. Release the need to fix everything. Trying to fix everything all at once is like attempting to mend the ocean with a tiny spoon. It's exhausting, impossible, and it drains your very spirit. We often carry this hidden burden, believing it's our job to patch every crack in relationships, careers, or even within ourselves. But here's a truth that sets you free. Not everything broken needs your glue. Letting go means releasing the illusion that you are responsible for fixing others or controlling situations beyond your reach. This isn't about giving up. It's about discerning what truly belongs to you and what doesn't. Imagine how much peace you could gain by stepping back and recognizing where your responsibility ends and another's growth begins. Take a moment before reacting. Breathe deeply and choose presence over pressure. This simple pause creates space between impulse and action, allowing clarity to emerge. Ask yourself gently, is this mine to fix, or theirs to grow from? This question is a powerful boundary setter, reminding you that growth is often uncomfortable and messy but necessary for transformation. When you try to rescue everyone or control every outcome, you inadvertently stunt not only their growth but your own. Your silence, your willingness to hold space without interference, can be more powerful than any solution you impose. You may feel obligated to keep it together for others. But what if the peace you're seeking is blocked by this very need to fix? What if surrendering this urge doesn't mean weakness, but strength? Strength to let life flow naturally and trust that others have their own journeys to navigate. Lesson 12. The art of doing less. Being more. Imagine a lotus blooming not by frantic effort, but by surrendering to the stillness of the water beneath it. This is the art of doing less and being more. In a world focused on hustle and constant movement, we often forget something important: just being is enough. When you finally release the urge to always prove yourself by doing, you make room for your true self to come forward naturally. Real growth doesn't happen by trying harder. It starts in the calm surrender to the present moment. Try this. Spend a few minutes each day in quiet without distractions or plans. Let the noise in your mind settle like dust sinking in still water. Notice how your body relaxes, how your breathing becomes slower, and how your nervous system starts to calm. This isn't laziness or escape. It's a vital practice of coming back to who you are. When you stop doing all the time, you begin to truly be. And from that state of being, right actions come on their own. Ask yourself, what if I stopped pushing and simply trusted who I am? What if the endless race to prove your worth, your value, or your identity is just a story you've heard but no longer need to follow? In the quiet, there's nothing to fix or perform. You no longer have to carry the burden of pressure, fear, or expectations. Silence reveals a deep truth. You're already enough. Who are you when there's nothing you need to do? This question leads you to real freedom. When you're not driven by the urge to achieve or control, you begin to notice the peace beneath all the noise. You realize that your worth isn't found in what you do, but in who you are. This changes everything, from how you view yourself to how you connect with the world. The habit of constant doing fades, and presence becomes your strongest state. Conclusion. True strength doesn't come from force, but from surrender. Not the surrender of weakness, but of ego, fear, and the need to control. When you release what you can't control, you begin shaping your inner world with clarity and calm. And slowly, the outer world responds. Let go of needing to be liked, to be perfect, or to always be right. Instead, root yourself in your truth, your stillness, and your deep inner knowing. From that place, the right actions come on their own. You don't chase alignment, you become aligned. That's where true success begins. Zen reminds us that bamboo bends with the wind not because it's weak, but because it's flexible. Be like the bamboo. Bend, flow, let go, and rise stronger, more peaceful, and calm. You were never meant to control the storm. You were meant to find your peace within it. If this message touched you, please share it with someone who might need it. Share your thoughts and journey in the comments. We read them all. And don't forget to subscribe for more uplifting Buddhist teachings on living a calm and powerful life.